more enterprises, organizations, and especially the startups we see now exploring mobile as a platform to do business. And thereby, as we see the digital economy shaping the Indian economy, we have changed its name as Digital Services Asia.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is quite unlike an event where you would find somebody from a political party addressing you. But nonetheless, I'm quite delighted to be here because I believe, and so does my party and our government, that technology is the way to go. It is something that empowers people. It is something that makes governance and governments absolutely transparent. And we are all for it. We are so much for it that often we are accused of using it too much. Those who disintermediate information find it very intimidating that we directly reach out to the electorate, to the people using technology, thereby reducing their role in the democratic process. But it is our firm belief that if there is the means, then we must use it. We do that in the party. We do that in our government, and we are constantly learning, we are constantly trying to innovate, and this process is happening in the government as much as it is happening in the party. Just to outline why we believe that we must be in this space and why we believe that government should radically transform the way it is delivering services. India today is the second largest country in terms of internet base. We have, as per varying estimates, about 40 crore people who are already on the internet or using internet, of which about 37 crore, a fairly large number, is on the mobile internet, which means that it is accessing internet using the mobile phone. We believe that there are already about 20 crore people who are using smartphones, and this number is going to go up to about 65 crores in the next 3 years. So by 2019, we'll probably have a little less than 50% of India's population using smartphones. And that's a staggeringly large number that we're talking about here. The data consumption, which is today roughly at about 185 MB per month per user, is likely to shoot up to about 1,700 megabytes per month in the next 5 years, say by 2020. And the amount of data that we are looking at people consuming is actually huge. And a large part of that will go towards government delivery services and will go towards consuming content, narrative, news, and everything else that today we see on traditional platforms. But one of the criticism that we face, or one of the reasons that skeptics come up to us and say that is the mobile penetration really there in rural India, which is still a very large part of this country. And yes, while I do concede that the rural penetration or the penetration of internet in rural India is not as much, but it is increasing rapidly. And we find that 75% of the people in rural India who are using internet are really in the 18 to 30 year age bracket. So if you were just looking at demographic dividend, you will find that in the years ahead, a complete new generation will rise, which will be connected on the internet, which will be consuming information on the internet through mobile devices largely. Now, given that background, what are the various initiatives or what are the various innovations that we are doing to reach out to the people? And before I outline some of the initiatives that have been taken, let me say this, that at the root of all these initiatives lies the idea of freedom and empowerment. And that's what Prime Minister Modi deeply believes in. he believes that the divide between the haves and the have-nots today is really because there is asymmetry in the information that people have. And if you make a level playing field and you ensure that people get information, or people know that they can get information, and it is openly available, then the possibility of this divide narrowing down is going to shoot up exponentially. So with that idea, he has himself made available to the people at large. He today runs his own app, which is very popular and which is widely downloaded by people. On that app, he puts out everything that he does as an individual, as the Prime Minister of this country. He lists out several achievements that his government has, policies and programs of his government, his various government programs, whether it is his trips abroad and the various things that are done there. And he's not limited it just to an information sharing platform. He's looking at ideas, he's looking at suggestions, he's looking at feedback, he's looking at even criticism if people have of this government. And he's receiving them directly. He constantly encourages people to get on to his app and connect with him directly. So that if you have something today to say, there is somebody there listening in the government and somebody really at the top is listening to it. His app is available on all platforms that you can possibly think of. It is something that you can download very easily. We've tried to make it very accessible. We've put out a toll-free number which people can call, and depending on their handsets, they would get a link of the respective app. People can, straight away download it from there. And we found that it is something that people really appreciate, and people have taken the time to get onto it and provide us their inputs, feedback and suggestions. That's one. And this is the kind of accountability that's never been seen before. Never before you had a Prime Minister who's made himself so accessible to the people of this country. And since we are here discussing only the digital space, I'm talking only about the app, but then he's got a profound presence in social media on every possible platform, and he's looking at inputs from all those channels that are coming in there. Not only at his level, he has made sure that his government believes in the concept of Jan Bhagidari, which is participative governance, and as a result of which a completely new division called MyGov or My Government has come up. This particular division is only focused on creating a platform, creating a channel and creating avenues for common people like us to participate in the process of governance. It is no more the case that you elect a government today and you come back 5 years later and then voice your opinion. We want to make it a continuous process, and so anyone can log on to MyGov and actually speak to the government directly without having to go to various ministries, which is how it was earlier. So here is a one-stop place that you can go, and if you have something to say on HRD ministry, you can write there. You've got something about science and technology, you can provide your input there. If you have an idea on town planning and urbanization, you can write there. And if your idea has merit, you will be contacted by the respective ministry. A meeting will be arranged. You can go present your case, and if it is worthwhile, it will be picked up and you could probably get an opportunity to work as well. So this kind of transformative governance is being made possible using technology. It's being made possible using internet and open source platforms. But not restricting them to just internet. We are taking it down to mobile because we realize that a lot of people today are on the mobile handsets. Of all the people who access internet, approximately 90% of them do so through their mobiles. And so the MyGov initiative has now launched what is called a MyGov Move. It's an app of MyGov, and what we are basically encouraging people to do is to come on that app and not just speak to the government, but also provide their services. For example, 3 modules that we are building out on MyGov. One of them happens to be Vidyanjali. A lot of people came to us and said they wanted to contribute to India's education and they're willing to volunteer some time. And so we said that, look, we have a lot of these government schools, but perhaps the quality of education there or the wholesomeness of the education is perhaps missing. And why don't you volunteer your time and spend time with kids between grade 1 and grade 8 and take non-teaching assignments, which essentially means you can spend time there reading a story to them, or maybe showing them a movie or playing a sport or taking them for an art exhibition or doing similar such activity, but not really taking regular classes. You will do this as a volunteer, you won't be compensated, but the fact is that there are so many well-intentioned people in the society and they do not have an opportunity, and probably governments have not succeeded in creating those opportunities for such people, and we are trying to do that using technology, using mobile apps. This was launched in the middle of June this year, and 22 states in the country are piloting this, of which 11 have already rolled this out and the rest are in the process of doing. So if any of you are interested, you must definitely check this out. The other initiatives that we are looking to do is things like Shramdaan, and I'm just calling it Shramdaan because we're still in the process of naming it. Essentially the idea is that you can volunteer there for a social cause beyond education, which is what I've talked about in Vidyanjali. But let's say if you want to do something to clean up public spaces, you want to do something about cleaning up public statues, you want to do something about maintaining public parks, then you can volunteer there. And the idea is that you can create a network of your own there and take the social mission out there to people and get them to participate in the process of public engagement, which is something that is completely missing in our country. We believe that XYZ is a job of the government, and if we've elected the government, we can just go home and not worry about it. We probably don't even bother to clean up the mess outside our homes because we think that somebody in the government has to do it. But if societies play a more proactive role, then governments and government agencies will be forced to change the way they look at their responsibilities. And that is what we want to encourage using technology. We are also looking at creating a volunteer workforce who can work within the government on small projects between 3 to 6 months. And we're just looking at how to create this ecosystem so that people who are interested, when they go to government, they are welcomed by the existing set of people and they can contribute effectively and not get stifled by the existing monolithic bureaucratic system that exists today in this country. If I talk about women's safety, the government of India has launched an app called Himmat, which you can download. It allows you to have a panic button in case you are in need of help. There's a universal helpline number that you can use, which is done by the Ministry of Home Affairs. It's certainly available in the Delhi region. I understand that there are plans to roll it down, but since law and order is a state subject, all states have to come on board, but the discussions are in process. We are using technology to make information available to the farmer community, for example. After almost 7 decades of independence, for the first time, the government of India launched a Kisan television. Can you believe it? A country that has a very large population, about 60% still living in rural India and largely dependent on agriculture. We did not have something as basic as a Kisan television. It took Prime Minister Narendra Modi to come and set this up within the fold of the Doordarshan, but we have done it nonetheless. We have a dedicated farmer portal, a Kisan call center, but we have taken this down to the mobile phones of the farmers. There are 4 apps that the government has actually launched. One is the Kisan Suvidha app, which gives you all details about market, weather, what kind of crops you can grow, seasons, various new products that are coming into the market. There's something called Pusa Krishi app. There is something called the Agri Market app, wherein you can get direct inputs on what the market for various agricultural products is, what is the rates that are going, and we are constantly trying to make it real time. We are trying to integrate a lot of mandis so that rates can be made available to farmers online and on an instant basis. Our government has launched the new crop insurance, and that crop insurance app is on the mobile phone. So farmers can actually go use that app, calculate the premium, see what is the kind of cover they can get, and go through the whole cycle of crop insurance through a mobile app. We, when we came into office, said that we are going to look at providing 24/7 power. Now, power is something that is again on the concurrent list. It requires the state and the central and the state governments to sort of come together to deliver it. But in the interest of transparency, we have launched an app called Garv. Again, 7 decades after independence, there are about 18,000 villages in this country which do not have power. They don't even have an electric pole there. So we set out on this task to electrify these. And if you go on to Garv, you will be able to see state-wise how many villages are unelectrified, how many villages we have electrified, how many villages are pending, and how many villages site visits and have been done. And the entire process is available for you to see on a dashboard. So you will actually know that in Uttar Pradesh there were about 1,800 odd villages that were unelectrified, and of which about 1,500 something have already been electrified in the last 2 years, and the rest are pending, and how many of them are work in progress, and so on and so forth. There was this big situation that we all faced when the northern grid completely collapsed and half the country went into dark. And so we thought that we must have a mechanism wherein we should be able to track what is the power availability in this country. And for each state government, they should know how much power they can buy from the grid and at what price. So to ensure that, there is something called Vidyut Prava. It's an app that the government has made. You can get onto it, and even you can do that, and see how much of power is available, which is surplus, and at what rate can it be bought. So when certain states say that they do not have power and they're not getting power, you can actually just get onto the app and tell them that, look, here is the amount of power that is surplus. It is available at 2 rupees 70 paisa, 60 paisa, 65 paisa, whatever it is. It's a free market. So if the demand is more, the price goes up. If the demand is low, the price will be low. And since right now we are in a power surplus situation, the prices are obviously very low. And all states must ensure that their states have power. So if any state that does not have power, you can just pull up this app and tell them, or send a message to your chief minister and say, listen, there is so much of surplus power, and why don't you buy it? It's available at this rate. That's the kind of transparency that we brought out, and that's the kind of information that we have made available to the citizen, to the ordinary citizen. Because earlier this was something that only few babus in the state electrical ministries would know, but that's not the case anymore. Similarly, we've got apps of Swachh Bharat where you can report and monitor things that are happening. You can share your achievements as they may be. We have made apps for tracking national scholarships. Students today can apply through it and see transparently where their application is and whether they are going to get the scholarship or not. There's an e-hospital app. There is a social security app that this government has made. There is an app for connectivity wherein you can track your speed posts, your money transfer that you do through various channels. For the Indian diaspora, there is something called Madad. It's an app called Madad which can help you with various counselor services. So a whole host of services have been now brought into digital space, and all of these apps that I have told you about are apps that have been built in the last 2 years. This is all the work of our government, of Prime Minister Modi's vision, and we have made it all possible in the last 2 years. we are in the process of making something called Umang. Umang is actually an app, an overall app for delivery of government services through mobile. It is called Unified Mobile App for New Age Governance. It will ensure that about 200 government services, including passport services, land record, income tax, e-post, etc. All of these are available through this Umang app. There will be an SMS channel, there will be an IVR that will also be available for the delivery of these services, but it will also be available on your handheld device. So while we have individual services, there will be one unified platform, so you don't have to go and have multiple apps. You can just do all that you want to do with the government through one app. So we have taken e-governance to the level where for us mobile first is the option, and then if you wish to go to a desktop or a tab, so if you can move there. But mobile first is where we want you to be, because mobile first is where we want the government to be, because we realize that that's where the world is moving, and so we are racing up to get there. That is all that I have to say. Thank you for listening me out.
Hi, I'm Padmanabh.
I'm Sam.
My name is Tsuneo Murata.
My name is Yutong Huang.
And you are watching
You're watching
ELA Times TV.